Hello everybody, Phil here from SimRacing Bible for another video. It's with great sadness that we learned over the weekend that Sir Stirling Moss passed away at the age of 90. So what we thought we'd do is we would celebrate his life by driving some of his favourite cars on track. He was regarded as the greatest driver to never win the World Championship. He finished second 4 times and third twice, so he came so close but never managed to win that championship. However, that didn't stop him from being an amazing driver, and he had many other great wins and accolades throughout his career. We're actually going to start off our tribute to him at the end of his career with the Porsche 718 RS60 Spider, which is a car that he actually owned himself and raced in his last ever competitive race at Silverstone. So we're going to jump into the car and we're going to take it for a few laps around Goodwood, which is one of our favourite historic motor racing circuits in all the world. So here we are in the pit lane of Goodwood, the beautiful Porsche Spider in front of us here. This is actually Sir Stirling Moss's car, as you can see from the name on the side of the car here. This is the one that he owned and raced in his final ever competitive race. Very small, compact little car, not much to it, very basic cockpit, but it's ideal for racing purposes. It's very light, very nicely balanced. So let's take it out on track and see how it drives. So here we are in the pit lane at Goodwood, inside our Porsche 718 Spider. As you can see, the pit lane leads straight out onto the track, just as it would do in period at Goodwood, because when Goodwood closed in the 60s, they didn't do anything to it, so they just left it exactly as it was. And then when it reopened in the 90s, it was exactly as it was in period, so it gives a really fantastic nostalgic feel to it. So it's like travelling through a time warp when you go to Goodwood. It's an amazing place. So here we are in the pit lane. So our pit lane guy has given us the all clear to go out on track, so let's turn some laps. Thank you, old boy. Car sounds good. So you can see on our rev counter there that the little rev limit is at 7,500 revs. So we'll try not to go over there, so we don't want to damage the engine. So this is Magic Corner, the first corner on the circuit, which leads out onto this first of the 2 long straights. Gives a chance to give the car a good stretch down here. This is heading up towards Fordwater now, which is a right-handed kink. It's very easy to take too much speed through here and then find yourself on the grass on the exit there, which is not ideal at all. This is now approaching the St Mary's complex, so down to 4th gear here. Hit that first apex there, keep it over to the right hand side here, and this is St Mary's here, which is the left. Tip it in here. Track falls away on the exit for you here, which is quite easy for the car to get sideways. This is down to Lavant. It's a 2-part right-hander, so it's the first part here, which I missed the apex of nicely, and then the second part is taken flat out as you try and carry speed out onto the Lavant straight, which is this one here. And it's called the Lavant straight, but it isn't particularly straight. It's got a couple of kinks in it, so it's still flat out. And approaching Woodcut Corner at the bottom down here, there's a little left-right kink which you go straight through here, braking down to 4th, down to 3rd, miss the first part of the corner there, and then aim for the second part here, which is the apex of the corner. Got that one, and then here into the chicane, which is guarded by these 2 very strong walls, which you don't want to hit. And then over the line, and that's a lap of Goodwood. But this car is fantastic. It feels so nicely balanced. It's ready for whatever corners are coming your way. So down to 4th gear for Magic Corner here. Again, it's a late apex, which is that one there. Going to play with the throttle on the exit to try and keep the car rotated and on its way down the straight. Now this car is running on cross-ply tyres, which are very thin and very hard rubber. They're not like a regular racing tyre, so which means they move around an awful lot. So you'll see me soaring away on the wheel. That's because there's not really a huge amount of grip available from those tyres. But that makes for a very entertaining drive, which, as you can see. This is a fun car to drive. So Stirling Moss himself said that it's a supercar, it's nicely balanced, and it's ideally suited for the Targa Florio, which is a very long distance event over in Italy, which is no longer running. But that took place on Italian country roads, which are very tight and windy and lined with all sorts of dangers and things. But he said that this particular car would be as if it was tailor-made for that particular event. And I can see why. It's very nimble, nice to drive. desperately not trying to hit those walls because I know that'll cause us some big damage. Leaving it 4th through here. Now this particular car is actually the one that Stirling Moss bought. He paid around $1.7 million for it, I think. So it's a very expensive car, but he wanted to make sure that he added it to his collection because he loved it so much. And it's very fitting that this is the last car that Sir Stirling drove in his competitive career. As with all racing cars, it's very easy to drive them, but when you get towards the limit of the car's grip and power and all the things it can do, that starts to get a little bit harder, so it can very easily go wrong. But thankfully, so far, we've kept it on the island, which is the main thing. Do the chicane one more time. Give it some power out of there. What a wonderful car. So, from the end of his career, we're going to go right back to the early days of his career now. This is the wonderful Jaguar Xk120. It's a beautiful car. It's got a nice straight 6 engine underneath the front there. Of course finished in the green that we all know and love from British racing cars. So this particular car it's going to be a fun one to drive. Again, we're running on cross-ply tyres. So here we are in the pit lane of Goodwood again, behind the wheel of this beautiful Jaguar Xk120. So let's take it out on track and see what it drives like. The first thing you'll notice is a great big 4-spoke steering wheel in front of us, and then there's that noise, which is the straight 6 engine under the bonnet. You'll also notice that the rev counter actually goes in the opposite direction as you would expect it to on a regular car, which is kind of interesting. Now this car is very significant in the history of Sir Stirling Moss. Back in the early days of his career, he had been driving the Formula 3 cars, which were 500cc cars at the time. He'd been getting some very good results with them. And he had been on the phone and talking to Jaguar numerous times about the potential for him to drive one of their cars. He wanted to drive at the classics such as Le Mans and the Tourist Trophy event over at Dundrod in Northern Ireland. Lofty England, the team manager at the time, said that he was too inexperienced to be entrusted with one of their prized Jaguars, and so he wouldn't get an opportunity to drive one. Luckily for Sir Stirling, there was a very well-known Jaguar journalist and driver, Tommy Wisdom, who had managed to acquire himself one of the early Jaguar Xk120s, which he had planned and entered privately for the event at Dundrod and the Tourist Trophy. And when he found out that Sir Stirling Moss had a desire to drive in that race, he actually gallantly stood down from his drive and let Sir Stirling drive in his place. So he did get to drive in the end. So it would be his first foray into the world of sports cars. The day of the race came, and it was a soaking wet day. The field was full of cars, huge grids in all the different classes. So he said that driving this car made for overtaking the slower classes a little bit hairy in the spray, so that could have been quite interesting. But as the race began, on lap 2, Sir Stirling took the lead, a lead which he would never relinquish actually. By the end of the race, which was a good few hours later, he was 3 miles ahead of the Works Jaguars. He went through to win the race in emphatic style, as Sir Stirling would. And it's quite funny actually, because at the after party, Lofty England came over to him afterwards and said that he actually sat him down and got him to sign a contract for the following year as a Works driver. So Sir Stirling showed them how an Xk120 should be driven. As for the car itself, it's very wallowy, as you'd expect from an old 50s sports car, but again, very predictable to drive. So when you get onto the limit, you start sliding. It's a lot of fun to try and maintain that speed through the corner. So like here into Maserati, just give it a bit of power through here. Saw the way at the wheel, trying to get the front end to stick. It does. Let's see how it tackles Maserati and St Mary's, not Maserati, Ford Water. No problem through there. St Mary's coming up. So I'll leave it in fourth for this first part here. And we'll go down to third for the left-hander. There's a lot of understeer, but that's okay. We can secure that with a dab of right foot. Leave it in third for ladder and corner, because if you go down to second, it's just too high a gearing. And luckily, the straight six is a nice torquey motor, so pull us through that corner nicely. Down the 11 straights into woodcut once again. Down to third gear. That's the first part. Run a bit wide onto the grass. It's a fun car to drive as well, just as all these old cars are. But this was Sir Stirling Moss's first break into the world of sports car racing, and he'll go on to race many other cars from there. And as you'll see from later on in the video, some of those cars became rather special. Now, of course, any tribute to Sir Stirling Moss can't go ahead without any kind of Formula 1 cars, as he was so successful in Formula 1. So here in front of us we have a green version of the Maserati 250F, and as you can see from what you can see there, this was one of the most beautiful Formula 1 cars ever created, in my opinion, and also in Sir Stirling's opinion as well. And Sir Stirling was always well known for wanting to drive British cars, and the Maserati obviously being Italian. But he got to a point where driving the British cars, he was just not getting the results that he wanted, and he needed to be able to win. So this is the car that he ended up driving, and we'll share one of the stories about that as we drive the car. But again, a wonderful 6-cylinder engine underneath that long bonnet, cross-ply tyres, lots of power. This should be fun to drive. So here we are in the cockpit of our Maserati 250F. Let's have a listen to that engine. It sounds so good. Can't wait to get this on track and let's see how it drives. So only 4 gears in this classic Grand Prix car. It's from a fantastic era of Grand Prix cars, which just created some of the most elegant designs and well balanced cars to drive. It is so good. Just listen to that. Now I'm taking it a bit careful because the tyres are only thin and I know how much power this car's got, so I don't want to go too crazy too soon. Now this car's only got 4 gears, which means that you don't spend a lot of the time changing gear. See, there's that dip in St Mary's which can catch you out sometimes. So for a lot of the race, you can actually leave it in 3rd gear and just use the torque. Now, one of the little known facts about the Maserati 250F is that it actually has the throttle pedal in the middle rather than on the right hand side as you'd normally find in a road car. However, for the Grand Prix of Monaco in 1956, when Sir Stirling Moss was driving this car, he had it set up so that his throttle pedal was on the right hand side. He also set up his teammate's car, who was also driving a Maserati 250F, with the same pedal arrangement. This is in case he had an accident or had a problem with his car, so he could jump into his teammate's car and not be caught out by the pedals. Now, as we said before, being a great patriot of the UK, he'd always want to drive British cars. But suffering from reliability issues and lack of performance, Sir Stirling wanted to win. So in 1953, his father went over to Mercedes, who were one of the dominant forces of Grand Prix racing at the time. He asked them for Sir Stirling to have a drive. And the team manager of the Mercedes team, Alfred Neubauer, said that he was impressed with how well he had driven in such rubbish cars and wanted to see him in a car that could win. The end result of that meeting was that Sir Stirling Moss ended up buying a Maserati 250F, not a Mercedes. His first race in the car was the Swiss Grand Prix, where he instantly put it in pole position ahead of Juan Manuel Fangio, Alberto Ascari, and all the Mercedes drivers as well, showing just what he could do in one of the best Grand Prix cars ever made. Let's see how well this car goes. So, down to Madswick, down to third gear, a bit of power to try and get the back room out. Fighting the car on the exit. Forward water, I know I need to give it a bit of a direct brake just to make sure we get through here safely. Some Marys. Get on the brakes early because these are drum brake sports Grand Prix cars. So the drum brakes don't have the same braking capacity as you would with a disc brake car, so it means you got to brake just that little bit earlier. Power kicks in nicely, reaching the top of the rev band just before the braking zone here. To third. And then a quick flick coming up through the chicane, into the right, into the left. Just got that away with it. I don't want to stop driving this car, it's just so much fun. Stay on track, come on. Some Marys again. Even fourth for the first bit, I reckon. That's nicely into the apex there. Down to third. Play with a throttle on the exit. Let's try seconds in here this time. Yeah, this will probably work better. That's better. Load or oversteer on the exit. The car's constantly moving, which is really fun. You're feeling the car underneath you and trying to keep on top of it all the time. So easy to run wide on that chicane exit. But that's the Maserati 250F. My favourite classic Grand Prix cars, and one of Sir Stirling Moss's favourite Grand Prix cars too. And so to the final car of our Sir Stirling Moss tribute, And what finer way to finish this off and round it all up together than with this beautiful Mercedes 300 SLR. This particular car was one that he used in the Mille Miglia event over in Italy, which he won in 1955. Mercedes at the point was a major player in the world of motor racing. They had won the Formula 1 championship. They were winning in sports cars, and this particular car was very, very successful in the sports car world. So once again, at Goodwood in the pit lane, you can actually see the reflection of the Union Jack in the steering wheel there. This is very fitting for Sir Stirling. This particular car is a beautifully designed car. It's one that's you could just stare at all day because it's that good to look at. But it's also got a lot of power, a big V8 under the bonnet, and again, very skinny old tyres. So this could be quite a handful to drive, so I'm kind of scared about this one. But we'll try and keep it on the track and do Sir Stirling proud. Right, let's go. Nervous. So we'll take it nice and easy to start off with, so I don't crash. Instantly you can see it's a lot quicker than the other cars we've driven. So at the age of 25, Sir Stirling Moss won the Mille Miglia in this car. It was an amazing achievement, not just because of his age, but just the sheer ability that he had to drive this car at speed was amazing. The event itself was over 992 miles, and Sir Stirling actually completed the race in 10 hours and 7 minutes. So that's an average speed on Italian country roads, which are not the widest and straightest roads in the world. That's an average speed of 93 miles an hour, which is quite phenomenal, and it's a record that was never beaten, and I can see why that is. Being such a long race, they set the cars off in stages. So the first car, careful, the first car was set off at 9 o'clock at night. And a whole load of cars were set off all the way through the night. And so Stirling was actually started off into the race at 7:22 in the morning, hence the car number, which is 722. So he knew that there was a lot of people out already in the roads ahead of him, and with the sheer speed that he was driving, he would end up catching up with them, which he did on numerous occasions. Some of them had already crashed on the side of the road, and he was just picking his way through, which would have been quite a scary proposition in itself, without having to try and drive this car. Which is very lively. Don't want to use full throttle too much because I know it's just going to kick out the back end. Of all the cars that Sir Stirling drove, this one really frightened him because he knew the speeds that it was capable of doing and how much he had to do to win the race. But he also was aware of how little he knew of where he was going. So for a man who won the Monaco Grand Prix and many other Grand Prix around the world, and many other of the famous motor races, he actually said of his win on the Mille Miglia as his greatest ever win, and that no other car in the world would have given him the opportunity to achieve the speeds he did, to drive the way that he did. And as you can see, I'm not Stirling Moss. Stirling wouldn't have spun that. It certainly shows you just how easy it is to lose one of these cars when you're trying to push on. Once again, very old technology, but when you've got a well-sorted car, you have a well-sorted car. Any other car from this era would have been even harder to drive than this is. But I just can't imagine what it would have been like to drive one of these down winding Sicilian roads at night, in the daytime, with crowds all around you. Yeah, quite an experience, I'm sure, and a very special event win for Sir Stirling Moss. So there you have it. There's our tribute to the late great Sir Stirling Moss, who sadly passed away on Easter Sunday morning. He will be missed greatly by the motorsport community. He was an absolute gentleman and a legend of the sport. We hope you enjoyed watching our video of some of the favourite cars from his career. I certainly enjoyed driving them. Some of them were a lot of fun. But all that's really left to say is farewell, old boy, until we meet again.